Hello, everybody. Welcome to Simon Scott Assembly Hall, where Indiana is a 97-71 winner over Sam Houston State. The Hoosiers get a win in their first game back after their struggles down at Battle for Atlantis in the Bahamas. Luke Goody has a career high in points and made three-pointers, 18 points, 5 made threes. Malik Renault with a double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. IU really took control in the second half. Trevor, I guess let's just start with what were things that sort of stood out to you from this game?
I think you have to start with Luke Goody, though. Career high 18 points. Really sparked that first half run, coming off the bench, hitting, 3 or 4 threes in that stretch. Sam Houston State led early. It was 9-7, and then IU goes on a monster run. I believe it was 25-5, 27-5, somewhere in that range. Took over the game and really never looked back. The Bearcats made it a 9-point game in the second half, but that was the closest they got. So really, IU controlled the game for about 30 minutes or so. I thought they did a lot of good things. Obviously, still a few of those repeating errors, those things that have not worked all season, kind of coming back and biting IU once again. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I thought Goody obviously was, as far as individual players, was the story. You know, he was struggling, obviously, hadn't made more than 2 threes in a game coming into this one, and he'd only made more than 1 3 in any game. That was 2 against Eastern Illinois. So for him to come out and get 5 3-pointers, it's good for his confidence, it's good for his rhythm, and as you have said on the board many times, when Luke Goody gets his feet set, he's a pretty good shooter. So for Indiana to do more things where he gets his feet set, whether it's running an actual set for him, whether it's, in transition where he's going to be at a certain spot, you kick ahead or you kick back to him on a trail. If you can get Luke Goody's feet set, that's certainly a good weapon. That helped. The other thing that was interesting to me sitting there watching, IU went for a number of stretches with one big. There was a time when it was just Omar Ballo. There was a time when it was just Malik Renault. Those were pretty productive for Indiana. Your thoughts on kind of just how that worked? I know we talked about it after the Bahamas, but it seemed like it was fairly productive in this game.
It was productive, and it was a big surprise to me because Sam Houston State is an undersized team. This is one of those opportunities where in the past Mike Woodson has just tried to pound the ball inside, take advantage of the lack of height of the opponent, and just keep going to the well. Tonight we saw more, one big lineup, space the floor more. We saw some added actions on the perimeter as well, more kind of weave and the handoff into ball screens. We saw more backdoor cuts. So those things open up when you only have one big on the court. When you have 2 guys kind of playing on the block and clogging the lane, you can't do a lot of that stuff because you cut right into them. You don't have a shot anyway. So I thought it was a big step forward. Hopefully that continues when you play a better defense. Sam Houston State does not pressure the ball much, and that's where IU has really struggled this year. So I want to see if IU can kind of take that, carry that over into the next game and into the Big Ten season.
Yeah, obviously, you mentioned ball pressure. That was obviously a big thing in the Louisville game when IU was down in the Bahamas. Chucky Hepburn was a big problem, especially for Miles Rice, but for IU overall, Chucky Hepburn was just straight out gangster. I mean, he was just stealing anything and everything he could. So this was a different situation. But like you said, the actions ran were good. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see, is this something that's going to continue? And is it going to continue against good opponents? But if you're actually using these games to build in some new things and to grow some things, then maybe there's some usefulness out of playing the Sam Houston States of the world, a team where obviously IU has an enormous, just straight-up talent advantage. But overall, it was a pretty good game. Miles Rice had some struggles on defense, but he was able to turn the corner at times. There were some moments where you go, okay, that's good stuff for Miles Rice.
And he got a lot of stuff in the second half. Hopefully that builds his confidence. He's a guy who has really struggled with his mental side so far this season, not knowing exactly where he needs to be, where his shots are coming from, how he's supposed to run this Mike Woodson offense. Hopefully a 19-point performance like this gets him on the right track, kind of gets him comfortable with his teammates, and we can see him take that next step and play like he did, basically like he played for Washington State last year. He was a fantastic player, helped them get to the NCAA tournament. We have not seen that type of performance from Rice very often this season, but hopefully tonight leads into more of them.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like if you're looking for, what are some encouraging signs for Indiana? I think that's actually somewhat encouraging. Miles Rice hasn't played the way he can play. So you've got that potentially could come. You're starting to get Luke Goody going, starting to run some more actions. There are some things you look at and say, okay, that's kind of interesting. Is it going to continue? But Indiana gets the win tonight, 97-71 here at Assembly Hall. Miami of Ohio next. Obviously, a ton of Indiana connections with Miami, Ohio, starting with head coach Travis Steele, who was a former video coordinator for Indiana way back in the day. That's the next game coming up for the Hoosiers. But for tonight, for Trevor Anderson, I'm Jeff Rabjohns, wrapping it up here at Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall.